Okay guys, welcome back. So as many of you guys would have seen on a previous video, I did say to many of you, I was planning to buy another BMW for this channel. Now, as many of you guys remember, I was selling my Porsche Boxster S to be able to buy two cars, one for this channel and one that I actually needed for myself. Now, many of you guys know the reason I sold the Porsche Boxster S was purely because it was unpractical and it just wasn't getting used as much as my 911 was, which we all knew was going to be the case. As soon as you get a 911, you're not going to drive the Boxster as much as you drive the 911. Even though I'm not going to sit here and say the 911 has the best handling, because the Boxster S has a much better setup than the 911, especially when it comes to cornering and handling, purely because that's a mid-engine, this is a rear-engine car. So therefore, they're going to handle completely different anyway. But obviously, this being a 911, you know, it ain't dramatically bad and it is livable. And, you know, it handles a lot better than your normal BMW would, of course. But it just doesn't handle anywhere near as good as a Boxster or a Cayman handles. Now, that all being said, the Boxster sold very, very quickly. I was expecting it to take ages to sell it. In fact, it sold within the first 2 days of listing it. Got what I wanted for it, sold. And now we have the new car here. Now, a lot of you will be surprised by the choice of my car, especially the new BMW, purely because, one, I've always said I wouldn't buy a car with this. And two, I bought this car purely because it's a car I always wanted, and many of you guys already knew this. This is something I already owned previously. The reason I opted to buy this again was purely because this is more practical, because as I said to you, a two-seater road car just wasn't practical and it was very unpractical, where this is going to be practical because of the seating arrangements and obviously what it is. So I know many of you are probably eager to see what car it is actually purchased. So I won't sit here going over everything any longer. You guys knew the facts, what was happening. That's all happened. And now we have the new car here, and I'll go over what's actually been wrong with it, because a lot of things that were wrong with it were actually not visible to the eye unless you know these cars and understand what's actually going wrong. And I'll explain to you what went wrong on the things I've already sorted already. And I know many of you won't like that it's done off video, but these things are purely because I've already done them loads of times on the video that I didn't want to repeat the same things over and over again. So let's get on to showing you the new car that I purchased.
What? Goddamn, get it done, will ya? Woo. When the blow up now, everybody's so unusual with it. Shit. But said times in his rhymes, cause his memories. We running through New York, so you.
Okay guys, so as you could possibly see behind me, this is the new car that I purchased for this channel. Now, I know many of you are going to be guessing what it actually is sitting behind, but many of you already probably can see what this car is, and it is a BMW E64 6 Series. This is the car I actually purchased, and if many of you can actually just see behind me slightly, the color of the interior. Many of you will know, probably since I started YouTube, I always said I would not target a car with this color interior, which is the cream interior. But unfortunately, as I've started aging, I've become a lot more tolerant to these type of colors on a BMW, especially as you see in this color, which is the Jerez black color of the BMW E64, and it blends in very nicely and so well with the color. I didn't want another convertible with a black interior and a black car, purely because, as many of you guys know, come the summertime when it's very, very hot, the interior gets very, very hot and very warm, and it's very hard to clear that, of course, when you first get in. With the cream interior, you know, it keeps the car a lot more cooler, and it's a more enjoyable drive and a lot more comfortable than it is with black interior. Now, when I actually saw this car, obviously there was loads out there with a black interior. I purely didn't want that. Secondly, the reason I purchased this car was because it had a few issues. It come up for cheap. It is a 2007, so it's the last year of the BMW N52 engine, which this is what this one's got underneath. The transmission service has already been done, but it had a lot of other faults. Of course, the previous owner did put money into it, serviced it regularly, but didn't understand the cars completely and lacked certain maintenance items that need to be done on this. Now, in the time I've owned this, which has been over a week now, I've been doing certain things to it to rectify a lot of faults that weren't done on this car. And I will go over them with you when we go head on to the engine side, because you guys will get to see exactly everything that I've done. But I'll take you around the interior so you get to see everything, because the interior is really, really pristine condition. This car has obviously features you would expect for an 07. It's got the auxiliary, it's got the heated seats, it's convertible, very good condition inside, nowhere on the steering wheel, nowhere anywhere. It's also got the BMW factory iPod box inside it as well, which is direct from BMW. Instead of having a CD change, it's got the iPod connectivity, so it's got that as well. And I'm not sure what else it's actually got, because like I said to you guys, I haven't really been through it. I literally bought it, brung it here, and it's been sitting here ever since while I've been sorting it all out. As I said, I did buy it very, very cheap, cheaper than you would have found any other convertibles out there. And obviously, like I said, there is a few reasons for that, which I'll go over with you right now. So if you'll see here, guys, this is the interior of this BMW E64. As many of you guys know, these cream interiors usually get really badly faded, really badly scuffed up, marks all over the seat, and get very, very black. This one isn't like that at all. It is very, very clean, and it's been very well looked after. You can probably see by the interior, it is literally pristine condition. And like I said, I will take you closer into it so you guys can have a good look inside it. Like I say, it's very pristine inside, but as many of you guys know, and I've always said this to many of you guys, you can get a car that's pristine inside, but then you dread what's actually underneath the bonnet. And obviously, where this car's being well cared for and maintained here, on the interior side of things, bearing in mind it's only had 3 owners, it's lacked at the front of this car, which is, you know, the mechanicals of it, which is what you expect, because people these days care more about how clean their car looks than how it drives, which is to be expected by a lot of people who don't understand cars. So overall, it is really, really good condition. And you'll see all in here, you can see there's no wear on the steering wheel anywhere at all. And you also see there's no wear really on the seats or no marks on the floor. Everything's literally in really, really good condition. Even the gear shifter, usually they're all battered and damaged. This one isn't. Everywhere is really, really good condition. And like I said, this is one of the reasons why I chose to buy it. The only issue that actually this car actually has, because it even has the hi-fi speaker system, not the normal one. So it's got the hi-fi system, which has the tweeters, door speakers at the side of the door. You've got them in the rear, and also got the subs down there as well, in the rear doors. The only problem this had, which has now been rectified, was the subs weren't working on the car at all, which I've now rectified. People have been trying to tune the bass up high. There was a wiring problem with the wiring where someone had actually removed these seats and actually trapped one of the wires, so I had to rewire everything to get the subs to work. But that was the only fault that was actually inside on this car. Apart from that, we've got other things to do, like you know, updating all the modules and things like that, and possibly the parking sensors. But above all else, it drives, runs, and you know, everything else works the way it should be. The roof, the windows, everything. And if I just open up this door so you guys get to see, you can see here, this one also has the power folding mirrors on the door. The door cards are literally pristine. You can see there's no really dirt up on the carpets, on the cream interior. There's only one little mark. Apart from that, it's all literally really good condition, apart from this little wear mark here. And on the seats, and this is one of the reasons why I bought it. Like I said, I've become very accustomed to the cream interior on the black now. And due to me getting older now, the cream interior does no longer bother me. I've become a fan of it. Now, it took me a while, but as I said, people change. And I've changed my taste on BMs now. I didn't want another black on black car. I wanted to change, and this is what I've decided to opt for right here. And now for the engine compartment. Now many of you are going to already see that there's stuff already missing from here, and that's purely because this car is in need of an entire replacement of everything, and some things I've already done. So I'll go over the two things that I've done, actually three things I've done already since I've owned this car, which is the oil cooler and oil filter housing gasket. They were badly leaking, that they leaked all onto the belts, as many of you guys know, and the belts have took the oil round and destroyed everything. I also replaced the drive belt, tensioner, and the idler pulley. It come as a kit, and I replaced every single one, because many of you guys know I do that on every M52. I also repaired this Mickey Mouse cooling flange. I took off the old one, as many of you guys know, they like to break off and crumble, and I didn't want that happening, so I've also replaced that as well to an aluminum one. That's all done now, completely done, so I don't have to worry about that. I've also removed all the coolant hoses from the lower radiator hose to the top one over here as well. That's why you can see all the cloths in there, because I removed the one that goes into the oil filter housing, because the oil from the belt destroyed all the coolant hose. All the underneath was completely crumbled. If I can find it, I'll actually show you. It was completely destroyed, disintegrated to the point it was so seized on the oil filter housing itself. It was a nightmare to get off from the heat and from the oil leaking on it. I also took the chance to replace the water pump and thermostat. It is one of the most easiest jobs to do on the 6 Series, because you have so much space to do it in. It's not like doing it on the E60 or the E90. There is so much space to do it on the 6 Series, because how forward everything is. You can get to everything very, very easily. I changed all that, because as many of you guys know, I did have a new one, because I bought it for my E60, but it wasn't needed because it was actually changed 2014. So I replaced the water pump and thermostat on this, because as I said to you guys, this car's gonna be used during the summer. The last thing I want is it overheating. While I was down there removing all the coolant hoses anyway, which took the lower one off, and the upper one, I thought I'll take the chance, replace the water pump and the thermostat, because I have it, so it's all brand new as well. And also the reason I repaired that is because where the oil cooling oil filter hasn't been leaking for many years, and I could tell it was many years because it was also having a water pump fault code and a thermostat fault code. Now I don't know if that's because oil got into the connector from the oil cooler and the oil filter hasn't leaking onto the belt and driving the oil around there, but I wasn't taking any chances. I replaced the water pump anyway, and I replaced the thermostat. I haven't checked if the codes are gone. I'll check them when I first start it up, and I'll know if they've cleared. If they have, then it means we've solved the issue. Obviously, the oil coolant oil filter housing was leaking very, very badly. It had never been changed, and I think it's safe to say the people had been driving this for a good 20,000 miles of it leaking like that without never changing it. I also took the time to clean down all here before I put the new belts and all the tensioner on. I sprayed it all down with engine cleaner, cleaned all the area up, cleaned everywhere around there, even down the bottom where the water pump was with all the oil, all the sump, done my sump repair to make the sump seal again, just cleaned everything up completely, so then I don't have any other issues going forward. I've obviously drained the oil, I've changed the oil filter, I'm waiting to put the new oil in it, but I haven't done that yet because the car's gonna be sitting quite a bit, so I'm gonna put new oil in before I go to start it. That's the only thing missing. As many of you guys know, here we use 5W40. I've told many of you guys before, with these engines, do not run 5W30. It's a straight hell no. Do not run the oil. That's what they were running on this. They had it serviced all the time, but it just wasn't fit for purpose, to the point when I bought it, it was literally showing 2 bars where they'd serviced it and oil had already gone. That's to be expected on these engines because of how hot they run. You're meant to run a hotter oil for the temperature of these engines. That's why I say to many of you guys, run 5W40 purely for that reason, because of the heat that these engines produce. It's the same as Porsches. Porsches run extremely hot. That's why you can't use 0W40 and why you have to use 5W50 or 10W60 or something like that, purely because of how hot them engines run. It's very crucial for the oil pressure. The same with an E64, E63. These have an oil pressure gauge, and I could see the oil pressure wasn't what it was meant to be, purely because these two were leaking, which is what I knew before I bought it. I was fully aware what I was getting myself involved in. I've replaced majority of the components. The good thing is I don't need to replace the rocker cover gasket. That doesn't look like there's any leaks anywhere. Don't have to replace the solenoids. There's no codes for the dissers. which is great news right now. When it comes to that, of course, you guys will get to see me stripping this all down, and we'll have to replace everything. So it'll be valve cover, CCV, disc flaps, we'll do the whole lot. But right now, it isn't causing any issues, so I'm not gonna buy that right now. If the valve cover was leaking, this would be straight off, and we'd be replacing it because it's not expensive. It's about £30 for the gasket, about £20 for the bolts. But I don't need to do that right now, so it doesn't make sense. Disc flaps are fully working. I thought they would have been completely destroyed, but they're not. It must be that they got the newer design from '07 compared to the late older ones, so that's a great thing to know. But apart from that, guys, we've still got quite a few jobs to do on here. Like I say, water pump thermostat. It was very, very easy on a 6 Series, and obviously if I was to get another 6 Series, I need to do it. I would record it for you guys to see how easy it is on a 6 Series. I know many of you will be saying you wish it was that easy on your E90s and your E60s, because it is real easy on this. I managed to put the hose on, the U-bend hose, push the water pump through, bolt the water pump up, and just connect all the hoses and situate all the Jubilee clips in the position I wanted them to tighten them all up, and then bolt the thermostat straight to the water pump. And that was with 2 hands in there, not just one. That was with 2 hands in there. Managed to hold it and tighten it all up. So much room under there to be able to do it. A lot easier than any other car I've seen it on, and that's why I took the option to replace it on the 6 Series. Apart from that, we are replacing the coolant hoses, coolant reservoir as well, because that was wrecked. The dipstick had broken off. That's been replaced. We replaced the water pump. Like I said, guys, the whole cooling system is being refreshed, and so will everything else later on. But this is the car I purchased, guys. It's a BMW E64 2007 with the N52 engine. So I know many of you are going to be a bit skeptical of how this car looks completely all round, and I will show you that in a later video when I've got more space in it to be able to move the camera around to show you everywhere around the car, like when my 911's out and I'm able to park it sideways, so I can show you all around the car, because it does have minor blemishes everywhere, which you would expect for a 2007 year car. Obviously, it's not a brand new car. I'm a realist. I don't expect this to be pristine condition. If it was pristine condition, I wouldn't have got it for the price I actually got it for. As I said to many of you guys, the gearbox actually has already been serviced. It was actually serviced 20,000 miles ago. So it means I don't actually need to touch it, at least for now. Obviously, when I start racking up miles and putting mileage on it, because at the moment it's only on 100K, then of course I'm gonna actually have to service the gearbox, because obviously more mileage put on it, the fluid will break down, so therefore I need to change it. But what I do know is it was changed around 86,000 miles. So therefore, I am not going to bother changing it. That's the only thing we're not going to bother with, because I've even got an invoice for it being changed, the pan, the filter, the fluid, and everything else on it. And the gearbox drives fabulously, goes through all gears very smoothly, very softly. Therefore, it's not something we're going to be focusing on right now. Like I said, the only electrical fault I've had so far has been the bass speakers, which I've now sorted, I believe. I'm not 100% sure yet. I've got to sort that. We've also got to put a new battery in it, because as many of you guys know, just like in the US, someone has put a junk battery in the boot here. Very cheap, old junk battery, something I do not agree with, which needs to be replaced as well. Like I said, I got it cheap enough to warrant putting money into it, so it's okay for me. I didn't pay over the top for this car, and I think the last owners also knew it needed stuff doing to it, and that's why they wanted cheap for it as well. But obviously, with my skills and my know-how of these cars, I can bring this car back together in no time whatsoever. And when I do, it's going to be a fabulous car, and I'm looking forward to driving it. One of the reasons I bought it, guys, is purely because it's got 4 seats. As what I said to you, many of you guys before, I use the 911 and I like having the 4 seats. The 2 seats just wasn't practical for me at all. The 4 seats is going to be a lot more practical, and I think I'll drive this 6 Series a lot more, purely because it's got 4 seats now. So it's a car I can use instead of the Boxster, which I just couldn't use. Just was unpractical, but the 911 was practical because of the 4 seats. But obviously this 6 Series is more practical because the 4 seats are a lot bigger than the 911's 4 seats, you know? So I don't know, guys, but I've got 2 good practical cars, at least for me. And like I said, I'm happy with it. It's got a few minor blemishes everywhere. So like I said, I'll show you in the next video. You got to see what I'm actually dealing with. Any other videos going forward, valve cover, disvalves, things like that, will be done in the video, of course, because if something goes, then it means I'm going to be taking everything apart and doing it all anyway, because as many of you guys know, the valve cover has got the hose connected to it. It goes to the CCV. They all break and crumble. If I have to get a valve cover off and that breaks and crumbles, then I'm going to be taking off the whole manifold and redoing the whole CCV system anyway. So thank you very much for watching, guys. BMW Dr. Dean here, and I hope you like the new choice of the car that I've now purchased. This is a Jerez Black with cream interior BMW E64 convertible. Thank you very much for watching. It's BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.